Colorado has spent so long selling you the mountains that you stopped noticing what the mountains actually are. Not scenery. Not a backdrop for a hiking photo or a brewery patio view. A working landscape, stacked floor by floor with animals that were here centuries before the trailhead parking lot, and most of them are close enough right now to hear you talking. That is the strange trick of a state this beautiful. The postcard version, snow-capped peaks against a flawless blue sky, does not lie exactly, but it leaves out the part where almost every trail you will ever walk in Colorado cuts directly through someone else's home range. You are not visiting the wilderness here. You are walking through the mid-LE of it, and the animals sharing that middle with you have gotten remarkably good at making sure you never notice until it matters. 12 of them are worth knowing before you lace up for your next trail, counted down from the ones you already half expect to the one that never even crosses your mind. Number 12, the black bear. Colorado's bear population has adapted to human development faster than most people realize, which sounds like good news until you understand what that adaptation actually looks like in practice. A bear that has learned Boulder or Aspen or Steamboat Springs means an easy meal does not retreat back into the high country out of some instinct for caution. It comes back again and again, testing the same unlocked car door and the same unsecured trash can until wildlife officers are left with a choice nobody likes: relocation for a first offense and something far more permanent for a repeat one. The bear is not the villain in that story. The unlatched cooler is. But the bear is still the one standing in your driveway at 2 a.m, and by the time wildlife officers get the call, the animal has already learned a lesson no amount of relocation fully unteaches, that human spaces mean calories, and calories are worth the risk. Number 11, the mountain lion. Every state in this series eventually has to talk about the cougar, and Colorado's version of that conversation carries a specific weight, because this state has more confirmed lion habitat overlapping residential development than almost anywhere else in the country. The animal itself has not changed. What has changed is the number of TRAILHEADS now built within a few hundred yards of it. A mountain lion in Colorado does not stalk you across open ground the way a wolf might. It watches from cover, close enough to see clearly, and in the overwhelming majority of encounters, it simply lets you pass without ever revealing that it was there at all. The handful of documented Colorado attacks share one detail almost every time: someone moving alone at dusk, exactly the low light window when a lion's advantage over a person is at its widest. And wildlife officials here have started framing that pattern less as bad luck and more as a predictable, almost mappable risk window that most hikers never think to plan around. Number 10, the moose. This is the animal Colorado residents themselves keep flagging when outsiders assume the biggest threat here has to be the bear or the lion, and the correction is earned. Colorado's moose population, reintroduced decades ago and now thriving around Rocky Mountain National Park and the high valleys near Steamboat, has quietly become responsible for more reported charges and injuries each year than either predator. A moose does not read as aggressive the way a bear does. It reads as slow, almost placid, grazing calmly along a willow-lined creek, right up until a hiker gets too close and discovers that an animal built like a small truck can close that distance in under 2 seconds. More people are hospitalized by moose encounters in Colorado's mountain corridors than by any large predator in the state, and almost none of them saw the charge coming, because nothing about a browsing moose looks like a warning sign until the animal is already moving toward you at a speed that outpaces most people's ability to react at all. Number 9, the elk. Colorado holds the largest elk population of any state in the country, and for most of the year that population is little more than a scenic feature, herds grazing in meadows just off the highway, easy to photograph, easy to underestimate. The fall rut changes that entirely. A bull elk during rutting season is operating on pure hormonal urgency, and Rocky Mountain National Park rangers deal with a predictable spike every autumn of visitors who approached too closely for a photograph and ended up on the wrong end of an animal that outweighs them by roughly 6 times. The elk is not hunting you. It simply no longer distinguishes between a rival bull and a tourist with a phone held up at head height. Every animal so far on this list has size working in its favor. something large enough that even a distracted hiker eventually notices it. That pattern breaks completely from here on. The next stretch of this countdown gets smaller, quieter, and considerably harder to spot coming. 8. The American bison. Genesee Mountain Park and several private herds scattered through the Front Range keep a visible, roadside population of bison in view of thousands of drivers every week, and that visibility has done more harm than good. People pull over constantly, walk toward the fence line, and treat an animal that can weigh close to a ton like a photo prop rather than what it actually is. A wild grazer with almost no patience for anyone entering what it considers its personal radius. Bison attacks share a signature detail across nearly every documented case in this state. Someone insisting the animal looked calm right up until the moment it charged, because a bison gives almost no visible warning before it moves. Rangers who manage these herds describe the same recurring mistake year after year, visitors reading stillness as tameness, when stillness in a 2,000-pound grazer is simply the default setting between one instant of calm and the next instant of full acceleration. 7. The prairie rattlesnake. This is Colorado's most widespread venomous snake, found from the eastern plains up into the foothills bordering some of the state's busiest hiking corridors, and its camouflage against dry grass and rock is close to perfect. Most bites in Colorado happen not on remote backcountry trails, but on well-used foothills paths just outside Denver and Colorado Springs, exactly where hikers assume the real wilderness has not started yet. The venom is hemotoxic, breaking down tissue rather than shutting down the nervous system, which means a bite left untreated does damage gradually rather than immediately. And Colorado emergency rooms treat a steady, predictable count of bites every summer from people who never saw the snake until they were already standing on it. Wildlife biologists here will tell you the same thing every season. A rattlesnake would almost always rather stay hidden than strike, which is exactly why so many bites happen at close range instead of at a safe distance. The snake was never trying to ambush anyone. It was simply staying still and hoping the problem walked itself away, and most of the time, that strategy actually works. Number 6. The Massasauga rattlesnake. Far less known than the prairie rattlesnake, this smaller species survives in isolated pockets of southeastern Colorado's SHORTGRASS prairie, and its rarity is exactly what makes it dangerous. Most Coloradans have never heard of it, which means most hikers in its specific range carry none of the caution they would automatically apply to a more famous snake. It is shy, reluctant to strike, and easy to miss entirely against dry prairie grass, and the small number of bites recorded each year in its range come almost exclusively from people who had no idea a venomous snake lived there at all. 5. The black widow spider. Colorado's dry climate and abundance of undisturbed outbuildings, sheds, garages, stacked firewood along the Front Range and the western slope gives the black widow exactly the stable, low-traffic habitat it prefers. The bite itself is often small enough to go unnoticed at first, which means the real warning sign tends to arrive an hour or two later as cramping spreads outward from the site, severe enough that more than one otherwise healthy Colorado adult has ended up in an emergency room convinced they were having a cardiac event rather than reacting to a spider most people never actually see. Firewood is the classic vector here. A piece stacked outside all winter and carried indoors without a second look, the widow riding along in the gap between logs the entire way. 4. The Colorado tick. This state gave its name to an entire disease for a reason. Colorado tick fever, a viral infection distinct from the more widely known tick-borne illnesses further east, is transmitted specifically by the Rocky Mountain wood tick found across the state's foothills and mountain corridors, and it produces a fever pattern unlike almost anything else, symptoms that ease after a few days only to return in a second wave that catches most patients completely off guard. Unlike bacterial tick-borne illnesses that respond quickly to antibiotics, this one is viral, which means treatment amounts mostly to managing symptoms and waiting it out. And physicians across Colorado's mountain towns still see the same confused patients every summer, people convinced their flu came back a second time, when in fact it never left at all, it simply paused. Hikers in Colorado's high country routinely check for ticks after a trail day, and just as routinely miss the ones small enough to attach without ever being felt. 3. The coyote. Denver's metro area now hosts one of the densest urban coyote populations in the country, and the animal's adaptation to city life has produced something wildlife officials did not fully anticipate: a generation of coyotes with almost no natural wariness of people. Parks, golf courses, and even residential backyards have become regular hunting ground. And while attacks on adults remain rare, small pets and, in a small but documented number of cases, small children have been targeted by coyotes that no longer treat a fenced yard as off-limits. The coyote used to be a creature of the open plains at a careful distance. In Colorado's suburbs, that distance has quietly collapsed to almost nothing, and wildlife officials now field a steady volume of calls each spring from residents describing an animal that used to run at the first sign of a person and now simply watches, waiting to see what happens next. 2 entries left, and neither one of them is the animal you would think to be careful around. Number 2. The yellowjacket. Late summer in Colorado's high country brings a predictable, sharp rise in yellowjacket activity, and unlike bees, which sting once and retreat, a disturbed yellowjacket nest can produce dozens of stings from the same aggressive colony in a matter of seconds. Grown nests are the real hazard, easy to step directly into along a trail edge or a campsite clearing without any visible warning, and Colorado's search and rescue teams report a steady stream of late-season calls involving hikers who triggered a nest and were stung repeatedly before they could get clear. It is a small insect with a colony-sized capacity for damage, and it accounts for more emergency room visits in this state each year than most of the animals ranked above it on this list, precisely because nobody budgets fear for something the size of a fingernail. And now the one animal that most people driving past it on the highway do not consider dangerous at all. Number 1 is the Prairie dog. It looks almost comically harmless, a small, round-bodied rodent standing upright at the edge of its burrow, chirping an alarm call at anything that moves too close, the kind of animal families pull over to photograph along the eastern plains without a second thought. Colorado's prairie dog, colonies, sprawling underground towns that can stretch for acres, have survived poisoning campaigns and habitat loss for over a century. And in doing so, they have also quietly preserved something most visitors have no idea to watch for. Prairie dog fleas can carry Yersinia pestis, the bacterium responsible for plague, and Colorado is one of a small handful of states where confirmed human plague cases still occur with some regularity. A sudden die-off in a prairie dog colony, entire burrow systems going silent within days, is one of the clearest early warning signs wildlife officials use to track active plague activity in the state, because the fleas that killed the colony do not disappear with it. They simply look for the next warm body to feed on, and a hiker or a dog walking too close to a recently collapsed colony can carry those fleas home without ever noticing the bite. There is something almost too fitting about that mechanism, a disease that has been shaping human history since before Colorado had a name. Still moving through this state today by way of an animal most visitors consider too cute and too small to think twice about. Human cases in Colorado remain rare, typically only a handful confirmed most years, but they are serious enough that state health departments issue direct warnings every summer. Avoid handling sick or dead rodents, keep pets away from prairie dog colonies, and seek immediate medical attention for a sudden high fever following any exposure to prairie dog habitat, because bubonic plague treated early with modern antibiotics is entirely survivable, and left unrecognized, it is exactly the same disease that reshaped human history centuries ago. The bacterium has not changed at all. Only the outcome has, and only because someone caught it in time. Public health officials in Colorado will say, almost apologetically, that most residents are more surprised the disease is still active here at all than they are concerned about their actual odds of catching it. And that surprise itself is worth sitting with for a moment, because it means an entire state has learned to worry about mountain lions and forgotten to worry about the thing living in the empty lot behind the grocery store. That is the shape this whole list has been building toward from the very first mile marker. Colorado sells its mountains as scenery, And in a narrow sense, that sales pitch is not wrong. The views really are that good. But scenery was never the honest word for a landscape this occupied. The bear and the lion and the moose earn the caution people already bring to this state, the kind of respect built into every trailhead sign and every ranger briefing. The Prairie DOG earns almost none of it, because nothing about a small rodent chirping at the edge of a burrow suggests it is carrying anything at all. That has always been the actual pattern here, not the biggest animal on the list, but the smallest one everyone already decided was too ordinary to be worth a second look. Colorado will keep selling you the peaks. It was never going to volunteer the rest. If you found this fascinating, hit subscribe for more stories.